Let's get it.
Keith Kalfas. Who likes Keith Kalfas? I tell you what, Keith Kalfas, man, I started watching Keith Kalfas videos 5-6 years ago. He's running around like all crazy on properties, trimming shrubs and throwing out numbers. He's like the only guy that actually not only taught what to do, how to do it, but how much he was charging. Do you guys appreciate when people talk like numbers on YouTube videos and money? Like, I'm like, how much do you charge? What do you make? What am I supposed to do? Keith was one of the only people literally talking about not only what to do and how to do it, but what to charge for it. Outside of that, Keith ran a pilot event 2-3 years ago. Marketing ROI, it was a class. Had 150 people there, whatever. It was really, really cool. And I had a vision, I'm like, I can do a lot better. I can pull this together. I had no idea what I was talking about. This is a lot of effort. I fully underestimated everything. I'll tell you what, we did LL 2019, I don't know, 150 people there. And that was a derivative of what I saw with Keith. And Keith is poured into me like you guys would imagine. Who here feels like they have a kindred spirit and they have a heartstring connection with Keith Kalfas? For real. This guy went districts to speak on stages, he's always got a great message. His heart is always full. And I'll tell you what, we are so lucky to have him. He's got action within, his ADD on it, a couple of friends, quit now through ADD as well. It's just so cool to see Keith Kalfas and his fingerprints all over the industry helping tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people have a better life and a better business. You guys ready for Keith Kalfas? All right, Keith. Let's do it on stage, guys. Get up your feet. Warm welcome for Keith Kalfas.
No. Go get him, brother. It's all you.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to talk about how action cures fear. That's what Brian wanted me to talk about, and I'm talking about it because it's true. But I would get upset and frustrated when people would tell me to take action, because taking action can end you up working 100 hours a week in burnout and exhaustion. Amen? But action does cure fear, and I've learned some amazing things. In 2020 and 2021, these last 2 years have been crazy. But I want to go back to the one-bedroom apartment. I always go back to the one-bedroom apartment. I had gotten this tiny little landscaping business off the ground. I was sick and tired of working these dead-end landscaping jobs for other people, making other people money. I didn't know my worth. I didn't know my what? And I didn't believe in myself. And when you don't believe in yourself, it doesn't matter how hard you work or how hard you try or how many gurus you listen to. It doesn't matter, because when you don't know your worth, you're taking action based off of fear. And there's two different types of motivation. There's fear motivation and incentive motivation. Fear motivation being what you're running away from, and incentive motivation being what you're running towards. We were in this tiny one-bedroom apartment. I got out of the dead-end landscaping job. I actually got fired from that job. I fired from a lot of jobs because I couldn't work for anybody else. So we're in this one-bedroom apartment, 3 years, toiling, embarrassed. The walls are closing in on my wife and I felt ashamed of myself. I still didn't believe in myself, and we were looking for houses. The credit score was in the toilet. I was barely paying off debt, trying to get enough money together to finally take our lifestyle to the next level, like these people that I see on the internet. And it was eating me apart inside. And I remember after 5 years now of breaking promises to my wife and my family and my little dog Miko, if you see him in the videos, we were so frustrated and fed up, we started going around and looking at homes. Couldn't afford them, so what's the next best thing? A 2-bedroom apartment. Luxury condos, they call it. So we're looking at 2-bedroom apartments. I'm leaving job sites at 3 p.m. She's calling me. We're going to look at these apartments. I'm scared. The walls are closing in on us on this 1-bedroom apartment that we're in. And we walk into this place called Kennedy Avenue. And when we walked in there, I'm walking around with my wife. I'm like, oh my God, am I even worthy of this? Should we take this action? I'm in fear. I had a little bit of money in the bank, but the rent was double of what we were paying in the apartment. And I grew up listening to people like Dave Ramsey and listening to all these guys, even Robert Kiyosaki saying, don't count your chickens before they hatch. Don't spend what you can't afford. Make sure you have money for a rainy day. And so the math always told me, based off of my current belief system, that it was impossible to move into this new place. So we walk around Kennedy Avenue, and it's like, I mean, it was a dream come true to me because there was 2 bathrooms. Anybody here is married? And I remember in Freeway Drive, that tiny bedroom, 1-bedroom apartment off the freeway where we lived, you could hear all the traffic every night, all day long. It got to the point where I was like, this traffic, it was literally off a freeway. That's why the rent was so cheap. I had a buddy who lived there too. He was one of my best friends. And one day he said to me, he's like, I think the traffic is soothing. I was like, but that like changed my belief system, and then I didn't mind the traffic anymore. But I would get home from work at 6, 7, 8, even 9 p.m. and I have to use the bathroom real bad, and my wife's always in the shower as soon as I get home from work, and I'm like, it's a little personal, but I'm like sitting on the toilet next to my wife in the shower, and I'm like, we gotta get the hell out of this 1-bedroom apartment. You know what I'm talking about. And I talked to Brian about this before. Brian lived in a one-bedroom apartment, and he said that it was just like, you get to the point where you've outgrown it, you're busting at the seams, and you're afraid, and you know it's time to take a leap. So we leave Kennedy Avenue. It feels right. Logically, everything makes sense, except for I'm in fear, and I'm terrified to take what? Action. I'm terrified to take action. So we pull back into Freeway Drive, and now I'm just like sinking in the seat. I'm supposed to be the man of the family, and I'm next to her, and we see this, what used to be like our apartment is now, compared to Kennedy Avenue, it looks like this like crummy apartment complex with the paint peeling off, the landscaping's all overgrown. I even used to go out there myself and trim it because they just didn't care, right? And the neighbors are like, thank you. And I sank in the seat, and I'm like, just stop. Before we pulled in the parking space, I looked at my wife, and my eyes filled up with tears, and I said, I'm really sorry to tell you this again, but I did all the math, and we cannot afford to move, and we have to stay in Freeway Drive another year. And this was like a very low moment for me because I knew that I just felt like I felt worthless. I'm like, how can I not figure this out? I keep pulling the work harder lever. It's not working. I keep taking action, and it's not working. And this crazy thing happened at my lowest point. My wife looked at me, and she grabbed my hand, and she squeezed it. And she goes, let's do this. We can do this. We can do this together. Come on, let's do it. 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 We got this. We can do this. And I'm like, I'm looking at her. I'm like, she had so much belief. She says, if we fail, let's give it all we have, and if we fail, we'll fail together. And that moment, I knew that she was 100% on my side. And all of a sudden, I was like, all right, let's do it. It was done. Like, it was done, and all of a sudden, the fear, in that very moment, the fear was gone. It just drained out of me, and I was filled with, like, complete elatement and excitement and belief. I borrowed her belief. I literally, it was like, they were about to close, the condo association, and I didn't want anybody else to get the apartment. I called them up, and I was like, hey, this is Keith Kalfas. We were just there about an hour ago. I want the place. We'll have the $2,800 deposit. We're moving in. So as soon as I got off the phone, my wife and I looked at each other. We were like, oh, U-Haul truck. We're moving. We're moving. When you move, it's the most amazing feeling in the world when you move. Dude, it was Saturday morning. The next morning, I went to the U-Haul place. I was like, give me the biggest U-Haul you got. I don't even care. She's like, well, can't you have your employees use your landscape trailers? And I'm like, no, it's filled with equipment. Like, we're thinking so small. Dude, I pulled up with this huge U-Haul truck, And I didn't even care. I pull up to the one-bedroom apartment complex, and there's like a lawn. I didn't even care. I just literally backed it up right onto the lawn. I was like, and I stopped right at the door. And the neighbors are looking out the window like, somebody's moving. And so I called up my employees, and paid them extra money, paid them some cash. And literally, we moved the hell out of that one-bedroom apartment in it was crazy. It was like 4 or 5 hours. And you'd be surprised how much stuff you actually do have when you move. And it was crazy. My wife was like a quarterback or something. Like, we were handing her stuff, and she's putting away cups and just everything. And she's super organized. It's actually kind of insane. But we moved into Kennedy and then woke up the next morning in this whole new luxury condo. And I looked out and opened the door. We had a porch now. Birds are chirping. There's nice grass. And this crazy thing happened. I still had a little bit of fear because the rent was double, but this enthusiasm that now I have upgraded my identity, upgraded my lifestyle. I'm in a new place. I took a leap of faith, and we're here now in this whole new place. And after being there for a couple weeks, I'm like, yeah, this is my place. I like this. It made me believe in myself, but my back was against the wall too because I had double the rent to pay. Something took change inside of me. This angry, vindictive spirit that I had started to transform from being upset with my clients. How can they live in these big houses and take advantage of me and all this victim mindset crap, and I'm living in this one-bedroom apartment. It went to I'm important too. I take pride in myself, in my business. I have a nice place to live. I'm successful too. And I really meant that. And in my guts, my courage, it just came to fruition. The definition of courage is your belief in your own ability to figure things out. I started going to the clients and raising all the prices. 15%, 20% increase, 30% increase. Started getting serious about the business in an entirely different way. Because I was before as a workaholic, but now that your back's against the wall, you're getting serious. You're literally getting coaching, you're creating structures and plans and budgets and figuring this thing out because now you don't have a choice. And the craziest thing is, by the second year we lived in that apartment, I had never saved more than $10,000 or $12,000, and I was I thought I was gonna end up broke, but that courage of upgrading my lifestyle allowed me to save $32,000 or $34,000, and finally I was set for the winter, and I knew everything was gonna be okay. And this funny thing, back to the Dave Ramsey thing and all that, there's another side of this when you take a leap. It's when you have the faith and you take the action and you overcome the fear, and you get that brand new truck that you want so bad that you feel like you don't deserve, or you get a shop or an office space, something about this makes you go, wow, this is real now. I take this serious. And that very act of increasing your capacity in your environment allows you to be more confident to go make money. So I'm that's the next step, the leap of faith. All right, so years go by. We're still at Kennedy Avenue. We're saving up, paying off debt, and moving into our home, which we're in now. And we're in this nice neighborhood. We have hundreds of clients by then. And we're driving through this beautiful neighborhood that I used to work in when I worked for that landscaping company. I worked for a bunch of companies, but the big company that I worked at, where there was a few hundred guys, there's these neighborhoods, and if you've been in business long enough and you've worked for other companies, you drive past and you look and you go, oh my God, I remember I used to work there. I've cut that lawn before, and that one, and that one. It's this whole thing. And we're driving through the neighborhood, and all of a sudden I see the trucks and the trailers of the company that I used to work at. And I'm like, hey, oh my God, they still cut that same property. It's all these rich clients. And then all of a sudden I look out the window, and there's John that I used to work with 10 years ago. And I'm like, John? I roll down the window. He's like, Keith Kalfas, what up, bro? And we're just I'm driving past. I'm like, bro, I'm pulling over right now. I pull over, I turn on the flashers, and I jump out of the truck. The guy who was with me, I'm like, 1 second. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, just trust me. So I run all the way back. There's this crew of guys working, and there's John. And I run up to him, and I look in his eyes, and I give him the biggest hug ever with my whole heart. I'm like, dude, what's up, man? So John and I, when we worked at the company, You make friends when you have coworkers. We worked our tails off, but there was times where, you joke around and you make friends. And we were doing fall cleanups like 10 years ago, and we're inside of the enclosed huge landscape trailer, this big box trailer, and we were grabbing tools at the same time, and then we ended up just hanging out and talking and conversating. We both had side hustles. We were very entrepreneurial minded, and he was always talking about having money coming in from all different angles, and we were breakdancing in the trailer and joking around, and it was a great time, and I connected and I bonded with him as a kindred spirit, and I had several friends like that, but especially John. And I knew deep down inside that one day we were gonna get the hell out of there, and we would have our own successful businesses. I just knew this. So 10 years goes by, and I stop at that job site, and there's John still at this company. And after I hugged him, I pulled away. I looked in his eyes. His eyes were like glazed over as though he had given up on his dreams years ago. And he looked desperate inside. And he goes, "Keith, bro, you're like famous now. I see you all over the internet." And I'm like, "Dude, what are you talking about? I don't even care about that. How are you doing? What's up, bro?" And he's like, everything's good, man. And in that moment, I felt in his spirit like the pain that he didn't believe in himself, and he let fear stop his ability to take what? Take action. And I wanted to grab him so bad and just grab him and shake him and go, "What the hell are you doing here, man?" And just grab him and show him the ropes of business. And I wanted to get him the hell out of there, but I know that you can't impose your will on anybody else. And if you pick somebody else up, like this podium, if you pick somebody up and their feet lose contact with the ground, like you want something for them more than they do, their feet lose contact with the ground, and the ground that's real and viable to them day to day. And then you become responsible for them. I've already been through that. So I didn't say anything to him out of respect. But when I left and I gave him a hug, I'm like, "Bro, I'll see you around." I just got in my truck. And that was another defining moment where I was like, whew. I realized where I had come in my life in the last 10 years and where I still would have been if I didn't have the guts to quit landscaping and working for other people and get my own business off the ground. So I want to encourage you to take that leap and take that action, because you don't want to end up like John, and you don't want to end up in regret. There's way too many people here that are having successes in their business that I meet year after year. Brian's event, the GIE Expo, I meet these guys in person. They're just getting their business started, and literally the next year they're like, "Oh, I'm still afraid. I'm so afraid to go full time, man. I can't do it." And then I meet them next year, and then they did it, and they're like, "Dude, we hit 113,000. Next year, 180,000. If they can do it, you can do it." I used to look around at other people, and I would get upset, and I would become envious of them, to the point where I was pacing around the one-bedroom apartment in front of my wife like a maniac, going, "Money, money, money. It's all about money. How do we get more money? Oh my God." It was this crazy thing. And I learned that when you just chase money, it's never going to show up. It's going to evade you. It's about facing the fears and having the difficult conversations. And I look back at John at that company, and he didn't, I don't know, maybe he's doing something amazing. I'm not judging anybody, but I saw the look in his eyes. So don't do that. Take that leap. Action cures fear. Action cures fear. What cures fear? Action. But decisive action. Like I said, just taking action will end you up working 90 hours a week. I've been there. Anybody here work themselves into a depression? Total burnout? Yeah. Here's a different type of decisive action, that is facing your fears and taking action through other people. This is called who, not how. This changed my life over the last few years. So frustrated. I always said, how the hell am I going to manage the books in my business and keep everything lined up or do the taxes? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? It was always how, and that puts so much pressure on you that you feel like, well, I only have this many hours in a day. Then you can go into this cycle where you feel you're stretched so thin that you can't do it. Well, the strategic action through other people of who, not how, is who can you find to help you do it? There's a saying that I love, where you'll be in 5 years is directly correlated to the people you associate yourself with, the books that you read, and the difficult conversations you're willing to have. I think some of us are afraid to have difficult conversations. I know that I am. I am. When I talk about the strategic action, I'm talking about getting around live events like this, going to workshops, private masterminds, paying the money, the $500 to the $1,000 for that coach or that mentor that you can get on the phone with, or Zoom calls every single Friday for the next 6 weeks to dial in some system in your business that you've been evading and avoiding and making excuses about that are so hard to do. My media business right now, we have 12 people working, and it's getting really overwhelming for me. And I've hired a consultant for $150 an hour. And when I used to hear people talk like that, what do you mean you hired somebody for $150 an hour? I have a friend, Kurt Kempton. He owns a company called Responsibid. It's like you plug it into the front of your website and it does automated bidding. And I called him up once. He goes, I have people that I pay $250 an hour to, and this might be a bit over your heads, but hang with me. He says if the value that they give you is worth more than that, then it's totally worth it. So the next thing is employees and freelancers and subcontractors don't cost you money, they make you money. They make you money. So it's a complete paradigm shift of going from fear motivation to incentive motivation. When I don't like to make decisions until my back is up against the wall and I'm so frustrated that I feel like I have to take this action because I'm so sick of being in fear that I know that it's not ever going to change until I just finally take that painful action. But action cures fear. So about the consultant, $150 an hour. I go through, like, there's something called Upwork.com. I went through 30 different people, analyzed all their profiles for a specific skill set to build these systems into my media business. And then I narrowed it down to 20, then 10. Then I interviewed 5 people. And this one lady she had the exact skill set that I needed. It was a perfect fit. So when I do these hour-and-a-half Zoom calls every single Friday, this is not $150 an hour every single hour a day. This is a consultant. They're compressing time for you. So when I'm on a Zoom call in an hour and a half, I feel like I'm so uncomfortable. I'm in anxiety. I feel like I'm being strapped into a Formula One race car and just like 150 miles per hour to the point where I'm overwhelmed. And I'm like, okay, I can't take any more of this. What I'm talking about is the things in your biology of belief that you feel is so real to you. The prices that you're charging your clients, your current business, where you're living, what your life looks like. The things in your business that drive you insane that you tell yourself you can't fix. Like, there's no way these clients are going to pay higher prices. I can't raise the prices or I'm going to lose them. Or I can't expand this thing or it's going to fall apart. If I hire this next employee, how am I going to afford to pay them? This chicken and the egg thing will drive you insane and stress you the hell out. But what I'm saying is if you invest the money and find coaches and people that have actually already done it, I'm not talking about thousands of dollars, I'm talking about maybe $500. Put your money where your mouth is and say, hey man, I need help with this thing in my business, dialing in the sales, dialing in this system. Then that person will coach you one-on-one or a group like this. And that is an example of a strategic action to get you to the next step. So, this is my guy, Aaron here. Don't mind him. I would look at these guys like Corey Ballard and Greg Whitstock, and I would get upset. I'd be like, how are these guys running these multi-million-dollar businesses? How are they doing this? And I'm always looking at how, and I'm not looking at why. And I think that there's something deep down inside that drives them. And you know what I want to do right now? I have a quick question for you. I'm going to change lanes a bit. I think that there's this thing I'm obsessed with called a stable datum. When you build a belief system around how your current business and your life is, You believe that it's so real that if somebody even implores you to change it, it feels impossible to you. You will fight and scream. It's like your fingers are gripped on it so hard, and you can be stuck for years. I was stuck for 5 years, and I couldn't get out of this rut. A stable datum to me is a neural network in your brain where if there's something new or new information or something that challenges you, you haven't actually even built the neural network yet for this to be real in your brain and your psychology and in your emotions so it becomes real and manifests in your life. Here's an example. In hurricanes, I've heard that palm trees can sometimes be the only thing left standing because the wind will blow so hard that they can literally bend all the way down and almost touch the ground. And then at the end of the hurricane, when everything else is gone, sometimes the only thing left standing is the palm trees because they're so flexible. Well, if you, in your life, go through a hurricane in your life and you're holding on to something, you know what it is for you. You hold on to this palm tree so hard and you build this whole reality and belief system around it. It doesn't mean that your beliefs are 100% true about whatever you believe about your life and your business or what's struggling, how you're struggling, how you're afraid to take action and get to the next step. That belief system that you've created for your survival is so real to you that you're just clinging to it. So now all of a sudden the hurricane is gone. It's a bright, sunny, shiny day. The birds are chirping and people are walking around and you're still over here like clinging to this palm tree and you're terrified and someone's like, hey man, let that thing go. It's fine. You can raise your prices, you can grow your business, you can do whatever you want to do, you can upgrade your life. And you're like, what are you talking about, man? This belief system is rooted in your survival. I'm literally obsessed with this stuff. And Paul Jameson makes fun of me because I like go overboard with this stuff, but this is where it's at. This is where the changes take place. So you're afraid to let go, but if it's like you ever see in the cartoons when the guy's hanging off like the ledge and they peel his fingers and he's like, one little piggy, two little piggy. And you're like, no. But if you just let go, everything's fine. You can build a new belief system. So I want you to become self-aware of your life and start questioning your thoughts and your beliefs. If you have a belief that says, I can't do this because, stop and say, why am I thinking that? Did somebody put that thought in my brain? Is this a story that I'm telling myself that's making me not take action? Is it just a story? Can I find somebody else who's actually done the thing? You will have massive breakthroughs when you get outside of that and start analyzing your own thoughts. What's time to it? Okay. There was one other extremely important point I just wanted to bring up. I was at dinner with Corey Ballard last night. We went to Buffalo Wild Wings, and Corey was all fired up, talking about his business and how excited he is, and it was really awesome. The second we got together, we were just talking nonstop. And Corey said something amazing to me. He was talking about how, I just think it's super impressive. The guy's built 2 multi-million-dollar businesses. He has all this stuff going on. And when you get one-on-one time with a guy like Corey, you just want to grab him and say, how did you do this? How are you doing this? Tell me. And when I asked Corey, he's like, it's just built into his DNA. It's who he is. He wants his company to be the best. He wants Ballard products to be the best. He's obsessed with this. He's a workaholic and he loves what he does and he's passionate about it. But then I start drilling deeper and asking him, but what was the moment you made the decision to like do this? And then the more I drill deep, the real question is, how the hell do you believe in yourself so much? Because that's the real question. How do you believe in yourself so much? The most successful people I know, they have this belief in themselves that's so strong that they're willing to face their fears and take action. What's it for you? For me, it's my own mortality. It's knowing that I'm going to die one day without leaving a legacy. It's picturing my tombstone and my gravesite. You're going to die. It's looking at the people that I love that didn't make anything out of their lives and sit around and complain and make excuses all the time. It all goes back to belief, and it all goes back to facing fears and taking actions. So what are you going to do when you leave here? You're going to take what? Action. You're going to face your what? Fear. Fear cures, action cures fear. And fear is cured by what? By what? Action. By what? Action. By action. Thank you. Where's my guy Aaron real quick? He, I forgot to remind him. Sometimes when I'm done with the video, I'll just be like, all right, peace. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I care about all you so much. I feel like I'm with my people right now. I love coming to these events, and I am with my people. You guys are incredible, and there's so many familiar faces. If this is your first time here, keep coming back and come back year after year, because this is the place where your business grows. This is the place where your fear is faced, and this is where you take action. If you want things in life, they're literally right within your grasp. Go find someone else who's done it and grab them and make friends with them and be like, hey, what can we do to get on a Zoom call or hang out or get a coffee? What is this specific thing that you've done that I need to do in my business? You know what it is for you, what you're struggling with, and dial in and get that specific thing done. Because on the other side of that fear is your life will just be incredible. I had this vision forever to get $100,000 in the bank, and it seemed so impossible to me. Because at first there was like 20 grand and 30 grand, then I thought 50 grand. And last year, I don't know, I hit $100,000 in the bank, and I couldn't even believe it. I woke up on a Saturday morning, and I just would look at my bank account like 5 times a day, and I'm doing all the math, and then I'm like dumping out change, and I'm like, how much? And I hit like $100,001.79. And I was like, oh. But for me, that was a number that made me feel like I could finally relax a little bit and believe in myself. And for you, it might be $250,000, it might be 50,000. But I think that you should like find that number or create these objectives in your life so you can finally freaking relax and go about your destiny. Because like I said, there's fear motivation and incentive motivation. If you keep running from what you're afraid of, you will end up in a messed up place one day. You might have a whole bunch of money, but you're just running from fear. You have to run towards what you want. Define your goals. Define what you want out of life. Clarify it and crystallize it. And what are you passionate about? And go after that. Design your life the way you want it, not what else somebody told you that you should do. So that's all I have. I want to say thank you so much. Action cures fear.
Great job, brother. Great job.
Awesome. Give us another round of applause. Keep it going. Woo! Stand up really quick. Stretch. Stand up really quick. You do it at home. There you go. Yeah. Or just, I don't know, that works too. Just saying. You guys have a good time? Yeah.
Hello. What's up, man?
A little bit, yeah. All the cameras.
I keep coming to meet you every single time. What's up, bro?
2 more great guests coming up for the morning session, and then we're going to do lunch, so hang tight. You guys having a good time or what?
How you feel?
We're trying to give it the best we can. I mean,
I feel good.
I'm having a great time. I'm back here taking notes on my phone, writing stuff down. I'm like, I got to change this, change everything. Awesome. You guys can sit down. Awesome. Thank you.
What's up, man? Hands are a little sweaty.
Trisha,
Man, sure,
where you at, girl? You ready to rock and roll?
I owe you an apology.